Welcome, everyone, to Games Talk Live, episode number 89. Yeah, I know. Look, we're getting closer to that 100, and that feels great, but at the same time, I took a bit of a hiatus for a while from the show, and it sucks because I should be over 100 by now. Because I think I started my show right around the time you started yours, Colt, and I know you're at like 100 and 100 plus. So
yeah, not far off.
Anyways. But I'm here. And of course, you hear the great voice there of Colt Eastwood. He is going to be joining me today. Welcome, Colt. Welcome.
Thank you, Fonz. It's good to be here. And happy birthday, you old SOB.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. And everybody tell him happy birthday in the chat. Send him like tons and tons of super chats. Just shower him.
Are you right behind me? Or
yeah, you and I are like 6 months apart. You know, we were born in 1946 and made our way through this world. Yeah.
Making our way downtown, walking fast, faces past, and I'm homebound. Yeah, I'm here. And Colt's here. And also we have Mav, of course. Mav, welcome. And this time, guys, breaking news. He's in his studio this time, finally. First time on the show.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here actually in my actual setup and not in my wife's downstairs with, the cat ears and stuff Kitty, like that. And, I got the
Rainbow Bright, all that stuff.
Weird. But, man, got a new PC because of Starfield. And
that's why he's able to join the show for some reason. His old PC sucked.
Yeah, it did. I don't know. That other problem was weird. I almost thought we were going to have the same issue. But I did some tinkering and stuff. We got it to work this time. So super happy to be here with Colt again. Also, happy birthday to you, Fonz. It's absolutely awesome.
Appreciate
to be here the day after your birthday. So let's celebrate.
Yes, celebrate time. It's time to celebrate a birthday for a man who cannot wait for one game. Starfield! A game like no other. Okay, we ain't getting into that. Not right now. We'll get into Starfield stuff later for sure, but dude, it's so crazy. Colt, I was just at, remember the old movie 16 Candles with Molly Ringwald? Do you remember the 80s movie?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. Okay, so in the movie, the premise is her parents forget her birthday. That freaking happened to me yesterday.
Oh, well, I mean,
my parents are in a nursing home.
Yeah.
But my parents, I visited them. Yeah. I visited them twice yesterday. And both times I was thinking, maybe this time they remember. No, they didn't remember. But unlike Molly Ringwald, I didn't get all sad and depressed about it because, look, my parents are going through a lot. So, yeah, my dad's dying, so I totally understand, like, for him especially. But it's crazy. So I had my Molly Ringwald moment. I had my 16 Candles moment. And, here I am at a 48-year-old man, and my parents forgot my birthday for the first time. 48 years.
You don't look a day over 58, Fonz, so...
You know what? I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much.
No problem.
Oh, you son of a bitch. You sitting there laughing? No.
No, it's just...
Jason Max in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, what? Jason Max in the chat says he's still using Windows 7.
Oh, right. Well, I mean...
So
I used XP as long as I could.
You're not playing any games there. Yep. Eastside Vandal, it's okay. It's okay. They're going through a lot. But welcome everybody to this show. We do have topics to talk about today. We're not going to be talking about my birthday or that sort of stuff going on. But anyways, we are going to talk about how Starfield is doomed. That's right. I said doomed. Yeah, Starfield is very doomed, guys. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Jedi Survivor as well. There's some news there. We're also going to be talking about Baldurs Gate3, of course, the potential Game of the Year contender. And let's start with this, guys. Let's start with what seems like fans are pretty happy out there. for a game called Killer Instinct, because this week we got news of a 4K mode and some balancing fixes for the game, which I don't recall balancing issues being a problem back when I played it, but I guess it is, because I did play a lot of Killer Instinct last generation. Mav, have you played Killer Instinct? Are you excited about this?
Oh yeah, dude, I'm freaking pumped. And we got that news right before our show on Friday, and I'd like immediately had Kate change our thumbnail and everything, because I think this means a lot more than just this update personally. Because when I forget the name of the head of Killer Instinct that they had brought on stage at Evo, and then they made the tweet, kind of announcing that Iron Galaxy is back, right? So they also mentioned that there's going to be more support, and they said they're excited about the next 10 years of Killer Instinct and all this kind of stuff. So for me, I know that Iron Galaxy's last game, it bombed. It was that Rumbleverse battle royale brawler type thing, a free to play thing. And so they became available again. And I'm thinking that may be part of what's going on now. They brought them in, they say, okay, let's do this 10-year update, but maybe, and this is just speculation, but maybe there's hope for either continued support on the original updated, maybe future seasons, or do that in the meantime while they make a brand new Killer Instinct. And I personally don't think there's a better choice out there, because they did such a good job taking over for Double Helix. I mean, when they took over, they really like doubled the output or more than what Double Helix was able to do when they originally had made the game. Then they got bought out by Amazon and all that whole thing happened. But when Iron Galaxy took over, it kind of like, we got frequent content, we got awesome stuff, and Killer Instinct kind of took off. So to make the announcement on Twitter like that Iron Galaxy is back, I think that means more personally than just this update. Now, obviously, that's all they're announcing right now. But I'm just happy because it needed that resolution update. It needed some more tweaks here and there with the balancing and stuff like that. So it's going to give me another reason to dive back into the original. And maybe there'll be enough traction there, at least to get some excitement to, if they haven't already started, to start making a sequel. I did some digging too, and on their website they have a bunch of hiring postings, and one of them is for a lead game producer. And I may be reading too much into this, but it says like to work with brand partners, on that game, on that title as well. So they have been a support studio. They tried going big with their own big game, didn't work out. So maybe they're here back to take the chance with Killer Instinct, because I think for them it'd be a good opportunity, and it would make a lot of sense for Xbox, because we know Phil has been looking for the team to do it, right? So if it wasn't Bandai Namco, whatever the other rumors are, I think Iron Galaxy would be a great choice. So I'm freaking excited. I hope this means more than just the update, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Colt, have you played the game? Or are you interested at all?
Yeah, I've played it, and I think it's super weird that they're saying that they're giving it a 4K update, because this is what Xbox announced in 2017. November, they said, here's the highly anticipated first ever native 4K enhancement of Killer Instinct, which previously ran at 900p. So I don't know what they're doing right now. I knew this long ago, like 6 months into, or 2 months into the Xbox One X release. The game ran at a full native 4K 60. So what are they doing, like a reskin of the game at 4K, or what is this?
See, I didn't think it ran at 4K actually, because I remember playing it. It does. I remember playing it.
It says Killer Instinct will be the first console fighter ever to run at native 4K. Compared to the 900p image on the standard Xbox One, it is fixed at 3840 by 2160p all the way through on Xbox One X. So I'm like, what are you doing? We had this 5 years ago. I don't know.
Is the Series
I don't know what they're doing.
S version maybe just the original Xbox One version and not the One X?
On Series S? Yes, the Series S version typically can give you the Xbox One or Xbox One S version. But I don't know. I don't know what this means. Unless I'm wrong.
Well,
but I looked it up when you brought it up, and I found the Eurogamer article just as I remember it. And I remember using it in videos when I was talking about the performance of the Xbox One X. I would record footage of Killer Instinct and show the resolution difference when I did a resolution video like several years ago. So I don't know. It looks fantastic as is. Pretty sharp. But
I mean, this is a 10-year-old game. This was launched over 10 years ago, and this to come out now, it's kind of strange. But then Iron Galaxy also went on to say, and this is what a lot of people are excited about, that this is the start for the next 10 years. So what do you think that means exactly, though, Colt? Do you think that they're going to make a comeback with more content within the game, or possibly a brand new installment?
My first instinct is that they're going to add to the game and build upon it if they're doing balancing corrections. And I don't remember hearing a lot of complaints about it, but it sounds like maybe they're going to just continue to support the game and see where the interest is, because we talked to people at Xbox a few years ago when we were on RDX together that said that they had heard nothing about Killer Instinct actually ever coming back anytime soon. So this may be one of those things where they're trying to see if the audience is still excited about Killer Instinct. And if they are, then they'll go ahead and build a new one from the ground up. But I don't know. Mortal Kombat's coming really big. Street Fighter 6 has been really big this year. So the fighters are still as popular as they ever been. So
maybe years, though, before we see a new one, right? Like if they do, it'd probably be 2027, 2028, I would think.
Yeah, but there's a few people in the chat that were excited here for this. I'm sure a lot of people out there are very excited for Killer Instinct. I've seen some excitement on Twitter and some other social media platforms over this news. And it's just, something to bring up and say, this is cool. Hopefully they do bring more into the game. I think it'll most likely be more content to be put within the game, because it already looks really good, plays really good. Why do they need to really change things up too much, other than maybe they want to go to a different engine or something? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But they say the next 10 years, so it looks like Iron Galaxy is going to be putting out some more stuff for this game. We don't know to what degree, but it's cool. Let's go ahead and move on to the next bit of news here. It's Jedi Survivor. Okay, so I know we talk about Jedi Survivor. It seems like we talk about this game a lot, not only in like party chats, but also on these shows. It seems like it's a point of contention with a lot of people. The community is kind of divided on this game because some people are like, the game runs fine for me. You always hear that. It ran fine for me on my console. And I'm just like, hold up. There's subjective points to these games, but there's also objectively good and bad things with these games. And objectively speaking, this game doesn't run great. Hear me out. Great on any platform, not even PC. Because my PC brethren out there, they're even telling me, look, it doesn't run that great on a 4090 even. Like, I have troubles with this game sometimes. I have to do some fiddling with my stuff to make it run good, not great. So Respawn and EA has come out and announced that they're bringing this game, despite its issues on current gen hardware, to last gen hardware, guys. What do you have to say on this, Mav?
Maybe this will be the version that has the best performance on next gen consoles. Because if you played Jedi Fallen Order right now, for me, honestly, it's a better experience than Jedi Survivor on a Series X. And it's because of all the stupid bells and whistles they put with ray tracing and all this crap that they forced into the Series X and PS5 versions of the game. And it's like, okay, at what cost is these fidelity features worth it? Because to me, it makes the game look like crap when it's running. It's cool if you're looking at a still image, right? But if you're playing a performance mode, you're not like, it's choppy, it's blurry. Your guy like literally materializes when you do a somersault and reappears on the ground. With it's really strange, horrible performance. Now, some people like the stuff that they put in there to make the game run like crap. I'm not one of those. I prefer a good, solid running experience, because I think it's the best looking and also the best feeling game. So my back of my mind is actually hopeful in a way that I may just uninstall the Series X version, and maybe the Xbox One version maybe will run at like a smooth 60 frames potentially. But the other aspect of this is, man, these devs and publishers got to stop lying, bro, because we broke this down on PM and the PM on Thursday, and they had literally interviews and all these things about like how the next gen consoles, this game, we're adding all this stuff that's only possible on next gen, and it's like great because it's going to be such an amazing experience. Yep. And then we get this honestly kind of crap. I understand the game's good, right? If you can look past all the flaws. But now they're saying, oh, hey, by the way, actually, we can make a last gen version again. So I just don't get it.
Yeah. And this is on the heels of the whole Ratchet and Clank debacle. You know, the whole, you need an SSD, or excuse me, you need PS5's SSD to run that game.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
And that wasn't true. So you're right in that regard. You know, some of these developers they're stretching the truth a bit. And I look at the situation where when I played Jedi Survivor, there was nothing about it where I was like, oh my God, this couldn't have been done on last gen hardware. Not once did I say that to myself. Colt, would you agree with that?
Well, mostly because you mean the ray tracing doesn't look transformative. So I think Fallen Order looks incredible, and it ran a little bit better than this one on the One X in performance mode.
It wasn't perfect though.
It wasn't perfect, right? But you know, look at what the console you're on. But right now with this one, the ray tracing doesn't look incredibly amazing. And so when Mav said that the last gen version could run better, I am like 1000% on the same lane as Mav, because here's what I'm thinking. I don't know if this will happen, but if the Xbox One and PS4 version has a performance mode to serve the Pro and the One X, then we can just download for free the Xbox One version on our Series X, get a baked-in lighting, non-ray traced performance mode that runs phenomenal on new hardware. I don't know if they're going to do that, but I'm actually looking forward to picking up the game back up. And I'm like on the last 3 hours, and I just cannot stand those things that Mav was complaining about. They put me off. Plus, the game feels a little extra bloated than Fallen Order. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Like, maybe they're going to have a performance mode, you know, because if you're going to put the game on Xbox One and PS4, you're not doing ray tracing. So they're going to bake in the lighting, and Mav's totally right.
Which but Mav, on the Series S version, they don't have the ray tracing. They have a baked-in lighting on that version. So
at 30,
why can't they just give us that version at 30, but for the performance mode? Why can't they just give us that? Because I can't see, like, what, do they only have code for 30 frames with the baked-in lighting? That doesn't make sense.
I think it's just because they're trying to sell the features of the ray tracing and the fidelity, all that kind of stuff as like the selling point for this game. I agree, and it's dumb. I think they should like just cancel ray tracing almost on every single game, like early in development on this current generation of consoles. Like PC, it's fine, but until there's like either a mid-gen or like a next-gen, for some games like Forza Motorsport or racing games and certain games, it makes sense, right? But for anything that's fast-paced, moving, and it's hampering the experience of the performance and the quality, it's just like, get your priorities in order as a developer. Nobody really cares that much about ray tracing. You don't need it, and if it's causing you problems, just axe it, right? But I think it's just such a focal point with them and trying to push the boundaries of visuals that they've just made that the standard for their PS5 and Series X version. But I do have a fear to what Colt was saying about the Xbox One thing, because EA is one of the companies that has always given you, like, if you buy the Series X or PS5 version, you've gotten the PS4 or Xbox One versions for free, right? However, those usually come in tandem day and date when the game's released. So I'm wondering, and I have a fear about this, if they will use this as an excuse because it's coming later as a reason not to give you that Xbox One or PS4 version for free.
Here we go. Captain PLY or Ply or whatever. He says, ray tracing looks great on the PS5.
No, it doesn't.
It's the same. It's the same.
Like it's if you consider seeing a reflection in a puddle, ray tracing. I've been doing that since the PS2 and Xbox 360, maybe even before that. I think on the Nintendo 64, you had games that had your reflection, right? That's not real ray tracing. Like these games, it's just
Fonz and I are sorry, Mag, but Mav, Fonz and I. That's force of habit. Hours and hours of talking to some guy from Canada. Fonz and I are always like, I love screen space reflections and cube maps. Like, I think it's the best thing. You get a game looking phenomenal, and then you use these tricks. And Digital Foundry covers it really well. Like, use these cube maps or screen space reflections on the hood of the car or on the water in front of you, and it looks awesome. But this generation, we've learned that when you get real ray tracing, everything else suffers. The visual quality, the resolution, the performance. And like Spider-Man Remaster and Miles Morales use a ray trace performance mode, but your reflections are 25% of the image of that's in the real world. Whatever's being cast into the window or in a reflective surface has been doled down to allow that to happen. So there's always a major compromise. But when you're looking at multiplats, I think almost every single game with ray tracing that's on PS5 and Xbox Series X offers the ray tracing only at 30, if I can remember right. Isn't that how it is, Fonz?
So let me ask you this, though. I want to expand on this. We're talking about ray tracing here, and if we're to omit the ray tracing in these next-gen titles, is this just further proof that these games are scalable on old-gen consoles? I mean, if you were to omit the ray tracing aspect of these titles?
But what about
outside of that? I can't really see.
When you mean design,
sorry, and split screen too for some reason. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So
when you mean like design criteria, like the scope and design and how you approach building games and how you have to segment off and do these magic tricks to put, how different interiors are through loading screen and all these things that they've done for 20 years that make games feel immersive and kind of hide how things are unfolding away from your view. That's what I've been saying this whole time for the past 3 years. Everything we played has been on the same old design criteria of the last generation. We haven't seen anything that goes beyond and pushes what old hardware can't do at a lower resolution. Starfield could be one of those things that couldn't happen on an Xbox One. I'm not sure. Maybe it could, in its creation engine 2.0. But you're right.
I think Fonz. A lot of these games could. There's certain things that, because we've talked about this off the air. We've talked about how some of these games we've been playing this generation, we're like, this could have been done last gen. Like, I mean, you look at a game like Gotham Knights, for instance. It just seems weird that that game is so pushed heavily. And I know it's designed more on the CPU side, so that couldn't have been done, I guess, on last gen hardware. But it's like, why though? Why did they choose to do that?
That was a mistake.
The game, it looks like every last gen freaking game we played. It didn't look
a lot
much
of
different.
It is a lot of that forced in like graphic stuff, that they're putting in. That's all brand new. And then the other thing is, for Gotham Knights specifically, they had to have untethered co-op, right? And that's only a two-player co-op game, and like Gotham Knights is a good example because I just recently got it again on PC to see the difference, right? Because I was excited about it. I played it on Series X, and it was a horrible experience on current gen consoles. But on PC, it's freaking amazing now that I have a good enough PC to do it justice. But
it's a good game.
It is. It's solid. We have a lot of fun. We're playing co-op on it with the tower mode or whatever that they have in there, the horde mode. And it just shows you I think some of the priorities are wrong with the development, and maybe it's from the publishers. I don't know who's making the decision, right? But early on, somewhere in development of some of these games, they make some decisions like, hey, let's have untethered co-op in a game where you're playing together. Yeah, that's great. But it's going to force it to where we have horrible performance. It's not going to be playable on last gen consoles. And also, it'll barely hit 30 frames on current gen consoles. That's such a great decision, right, guys? Like, yeah, let's do that. No, it's dumb, right? So graphically, I think most things are scalable, but when it comes into certain gameplay decisions or like priorities they have, and like you said, we'll talk about Baldur's Gate in a little bit. It's just weird decision making that limits the capabilities of what they're trying to do and limits the audience and limits the performance. And the priorities for me are in the wrong place sometimes, and I just don't understand
it. Look, and I'm with you, full stack. I believe it was him that says not everyone wants to invest in a 4K PC. That's totally true, and I get it. And consoles are supposed to be that, you know, the less expensive way to enjoy these games and stuff, and they are. But I think it does come down to the feature sets that you guys both have brought up. And with that, I would like to say, you know, with a PS5, okay, let's say the PS5, Sony is saying that they're going to, or there's a rumor that they're going to come out with a PS5 Pro. Now, it may have even more feature sets, right? And what is that going to do for a developer, right? What is that going to do? They're going to continue to push those features, right? They're going to push the boundaries of these games even further. And as I've stated many times before, each generation coming in, we always see it happen. These developers push for graphic fidelity first. Frame rates are not on the top priority of these developers whatsoever, but it's just not for most anyway. And it's sad because that's what will happen regardless. And a lot of people out there could say, well, then I want an Xbox, you know, Pro version of Xbox, an Elite version, whatever you want to call it, the X1, XXX, I don't know. But when it comes down to it, you're just going to be pushed even further with that graphic fidelity. That's my opinion anyway. That's what I see, Mav, happening and with every console generation.
3Bit's a developer, and he does a lot of stuff on our channel, and he talked about this a long time ago. That was his fear, that a lot of these developers are just going to take all the new bells and whistles and all these marketing trends of you know, acronyms and use all of these things to just push fidelity without concentrating on performance. And I think now that we're seeing, and what it is most of these like only possible on next gen like hardware games that are doing it now, right? Whereas we saw a lot of the cross gen games have great performance on Series X and PS5. It's these next gen only games that are like, hey, pushing all the bells and whistles, not possible on last gen, but hey, it's going to run like crap on your current gen consoles too. Let's go. You know, I'm not a huge fan of that, but I don't know. I got used too much to 60, bro. They spoiled me.
But this narrative to where, you know, you have to push these features to continue to innovate within this space is just wrong, in my opinion, because you look towards games that come out even on the Nintendo Switch that are more innovative than anything you get on the Series X, you know, or the PlayStation 5.
Example, Fonz. When Forza Horizon 5 came out, nobody could believe that it didn't have ray tracing, like on track in the world, because the lighting and the shadows and the reflections were so good, right? I don't personally care what the name of the technology is you use to make my games look good and play great. Just make them look good and play great, and if they do, then people will buy it, and they will not care about tag words like ray tracing and all these other things, you know. So I know it matters, especially to tech heads, and that's what helps push the industry forward and all these new developer tools and stuff like that. But sometimes,
and a lot of these
don't see the results on the screen when I'm playing the games, you know.
Well, the thing is a lot of these new developer tools and stuff, that's just it. They're brand new, so sometimes they're a bit bloated and everything, but they're making these developers' lives a bit easier for the most part. And yes, they do have to learn them, but once they start learning these things, it becomes even easier for them because they're new tools. They're doing new things. Like you hear a lot from developers talk about global illumination and how that helps them out a lot building their games and stuff. And it's more streamlined. It's a bit faster for them. But at what cost is, I mean, at the end of the day, we're sitting here as gamers and we are finding that these games that they're pushing all these features for just aren't running as smoothly as we thought they would, or it just sucks for us as gamers for them to go through these woes with these new tools and features and everything. I hope it gets better, because as time goes on, eventually the software does get less bloated. It gets better, more streamlined, all that. So I know eventually the games will get better for us. But for now, it's just like we're in that point where we seem to just get rid of cross-gen. But now you got companies like Respawn saying, no, we're going to, put our game back out on on old-gen hardware. And it's like, huh? Like, I thought we were moving forward, not backward. And I'm just, man.
Well,
I'm not saying it's
doom and gloom, Fonz, it's just that I thought
it'll get
Mav
better.
Was going to. Yeah, one of the things that I thought Mav was going to say is one of the reasons why they're doing this Jedi Survivor port is because they are so limited by the small amount of next gen consoles that are out and available and able to be purchased. So, of course, EA wants to make more money, and this is why Xbox and PlayStation are expanding to PC. So they have to get those games to a bigger audience. And I would assume that Jedi Survivor did really well. But the problem with the ray tracing, if we go back to that, is that it looks good. My opinion of ray tracing is it looks like I've seen all the side-by-sides, RTX, the AMD's ray tracing. I've seen the stuff on console. I've seen it on big games and small games. And every time I've gone, okay, I can see the difference. And sometimes, and this is where it gets interesting because it's a video game and it's artistic people making a video game. And when you build this world out of polygons and textures and you light it up, what I'm getting at is the realistic bounced ray tracing can sometimes look not as nice as the baked in lighting where they fake all the corners and the shadows to make it look realistic. I've seen so many back and forths where the baked in lighting looks more pleasing to the eye than the actual realistic ray traced
at times
reflections, and it's because it's mostly reflective lighting, absorbed lighting. You light bounces off an orange thing and casts some orange onto the ground, and then the shadows look more realistic. And then I've seen the comparison. I'm like I played Dead Island 2, and if you've played Dead Island 2, if you've looked at it, you're like, wow, that looks really nice, and it's all baked in. And it's not the best looking game ever, but most games have baked in lighting. And so to get to Mav's point is that you've got all these games where they're ripping the performance away from us to push ray tracing, where I would wonder how many of us are saying we really need this because it's moving games forward about how great they can look. And I haven't seen it yet. I feel like I'm a jerk
games
when I say that.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is a prime example of baked in lighting that is just absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous, especially if you go like early morning or dusk even. Beautiful. Holy crap, does it look real good.
It's when you go inside, Fonz, when you go into an interior is when you can see, holy crap, that's how you fake lighting inside and make it look gorgeous. When you go into like a cabin and you're inside and you're like, why would you want it to look any better than Red Dead 2? Yeah, but you and I don't want to.
I don't want to come off as, look, I'm not saying anything like these guys out there. Lazy devs. But
no, it's not lazy.
Let's say when you bake in this lighting and when you actually have to do this stuff, it's probably a lot harder or takes more time, I should say, than what they're using now with this ray tracing and global illumination. So yeah, it saves time and money probably to use this stuff. But at the end of the day, you got games like Red Dead 2, Uncharted 4 with baked in lighting that looked amazing. Freaking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really good stuff and no ray tracing. But again, I think we're at a losing battle there, Colt, you and I, about this whole ray tracing thing. Even though on consoles, ray tracing hasn't really pushed the envelope like it has on PC. PC, you can really notice a big difference. But yeah, on console, I mean, most of the time we're getting like stuff like ray trace shadows. Like,
well,
Matt, are you excited about ray trace shadows?
No, I don't.
You're folding into the second part of the discussion where you were bringing up the Pro or mid-gen console, where it would have, I'll just outright say it, that the consoles right now do not have enough overhead to give us performance ray tracing in most games. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But if devs won't be pushing the envelope of a PS5 Pro or a mid-gen console and leave everything else behind. They're still going to develop for all those games. They'll just be able to give you more performance with ray tracing with a mid-gen console. But as it is with a 2019 GPU in the Series X and PS5, they're tapping it out. They're at the top of it. And devs aren't lazy, even if they choose the ray tracing route, which is where you physically let photons or fake photons bounce through the room and do the calculations for you. There's still a lot of work that they have to do. And then they've got their rendering budget constrained because they're using a ray tracing solution. So I don't think it's lazy in any aspect. It just puts us in a bad situation where we're playing these games at 30 frames. And there's Starfield, but it's using a form of ray tracing.
I've heard the developers say before that it's a little easier for them, and it does speed their development time up just a bit. So it helps in creation of these games, and I'm all for that. I'm all for giving the tools to these developers to create some awesome, amazing games pretty quickly for us. But at the same time, I'd rather have some of these games just be put, on the back burner a little bit longer before they come out, because
every game needs an extra year. But I have to add the perspective that it is. I mean, every game has been delayed, just about almost every game. But just to put it in perspective, when a developer uses baked-in lighting, they have to put an Omni light somewhere. They hide it so you can't see it, or they put it in a place where it looks like it belongs. They also artificially light textures. So if there's a nightstand over there, they'll actually lighten up the texture physically so that it looks like it's also being lit up. So it's not actually having a light on it. So they go through a room, and this is why Starfield doesn't run at 60. Todd Howard's team was not going to physically look at all of the different interiors and exteriors and figure out how to make them look lit, because if you play Fallout 4 or Fallout 76, you'll walk in a room and go, why does it look like this? Like, why is it so dark, or why is it so weird bright here? Or why, like, this isn't what it looks like inside of a building. It's because they're faking it like halfway through. So Starfield runs at 30 because they're using global illumination solution where it does that work for them because they're running across 1,000 planets. Starfield.
Starfield. Yeah.
That's why I buy the PC.
But buy a $3,000 PC and you'll be good.
Yeah, that's it.
It's been
easy
exactly. Right? It's that easy. It's that
wait.
All we got to do is buy a $3,000 PC.
What was that?
How much was your PC that you just built?
It was like 21.
21? Okay, so it's not good enough for Starfield, but you tried. What'd you get in it? I
got the AMD 7900 XT.
Awesome.
And I got for the CPU, it's a i7 13700K, I think is what it's called. It's Intel. And I got like 32 gigs of DDR RAM. I forget 5. I think 5.
Well, let me tell you what. I got this console called the PS5. I'm going to be able to launch Starfield on my YouTube app, watching somebody play it on your rig in glorious 60 frames per second. So eat that.
That's right.
Xbox guys. So no, you know what? I'm going to be playing on the Series X, and I'm going to have a blast with the game nonetheless. 30 frames be damned. Yes, do I want a 60 frames? Of course, but it is what it is. The game can't do it at this juncture, but we'll see what it's like in the future with if there is a mid-gen refresh in the future. I don't know. Colt, do you ever think Xbox will actually put out a mid-gen refresh? I say no.
No.
What do you say?
No, in fact,
I say no.
I've been talking to a lot of people that are trying to figure out and predict what's going on, listening to things that Phil said and what the team has planned. And I think it's more likely that Xbox would start their next generation console instead of a mid-gen. I really believe that the Series consoles are named so that they can go Series X2, Series X3, and then if they still have consoles after that, we'll see. I think they might, but I think Xbox would rather just move on to a Samsung Galaxy or iPhone type 4 to 5 year cycle for a console. And Phil said that before, but also in the findings,
I would be okay with that.
I would too, but
I would be okay with that.
Be careful, because well over half your audience does not want a mid-gen console on either PlayStation or Xbox.
No, I'm not.
They don't want one. But I would.
I'm not talking about basically a mid-gen console. I'm talking about generations. Start generations a bit earlier. You know, every 5-6 years is good enough, I think, for a generation.
If you're selling a console for $500 or $600,
technology moves so fast.
Yes, and if you're selling consoles for $500 or $600, I know it may sound a little harsh to hear, but every 5 or 6 years, trading that thing in, getting $300 out of it, spending a couple $100 or $300 more to get the best and the greatest console, it wouldn't really hurt that bad. And I think it would. We like getting shiny new things, but with console hardware, like the games have to live for so long, and the 360 was an 8-year dev cycle, and everyone thinks that the Series X is going to repeat another 8 years. And what was the Xbox One and PS4, Mav? Was it 7?
7, and they had after 5 or 4, they had the 1X and the PS4 Pro.
Yeah, because they said 8 was too long for the PS3 360 era, and then we almost went that far, but we had mid-gen consoles, and I don't know. I'm trying to see if your chat is getting ticked about it, because
it's interesting though, right? Because what are really generations now if your whole library keeps carrying forward with you? And even this generation, they're just now stopped really supporting and making a lot of the games cross-gen, and even the ones they say aren't going to be cross-gen, later they come out with the cross-gen version of it anyway. So at this point, like going forward, it's different because we live in a digital age now, right? We're not like, oh, we have to have a different kind of format to put in our machine, and everything's going to change. When we got the Series X and S, your whole library carried over with you, and a lot of the games got free updates, got performance updates. Even companies like EA just went and like unlocked the frame rates on a lot of their last gen games, and we got better performance on those. They're still doing updates on them now, like Far Cry 5 recently just got a big update for free.
That's so funny. You nailed it. I love that you said that, because I never think about it, how we start off with cartridges, the PlayStation moved to DVDs, and then the Xbox had
CDs
or CDs, and then they moved to DVDs and Blu-ray, and then Xbox finally moved to Blu-ray with PlayStation. So there was this format change, and as physical has become less of a necessity, right now you can move forward with almost 20 years of games because they have this architecture they finally decided, like, this is how we should make games. More like PC, but in a console box. Everything just pretty much moves forward, and you can put out a console every 5 or 6 years, and it's not gonna knock somebody
over. You're not really
over.
Alienating your fan base or your players. You know, you're just giving them another option. Hey, if I go to the store today and I spend $500 or $600 on a console, would I rather have 4 or 5-year-old hardware, or would I rather have brand new hardware that these
of course,
developers might give us better performance modes on? So I'm all for that. I hope that's the future, but we'll see. I don't know. The whole decision for them and for Microsoft and for PlayStation is going to be about cost versus, like, is it worthwhile for them based on how much it costs for them to make the machines, right?
Jigga J in the chat.
It's kind of iffy on that right now.
Yeah, Jigga J in the chat said generations used to be 5 years, and he's exactly correct. Most of the generations, the gaming generations, were 5 years, and then it all changed. I think last generation, I think, was the one that really changed it, or maybe it was the one before. Was it the 360 era, or was it last year where it changed and it pushed?
360 went 8 years. Before that, it was closer to the.
It was that one then. So yeah, and before that, it was basically an average of 5 years, and I don't see a problem with that. I strongly believe that the console generations should be shortened. They should not be 8 years.
But should the generation
moves
term
way too fast.
Just be like
way
gone?
Too freaking
like
fast.
What makes it a new generation if everything
exactly right
keeps coming out? So I think the decision there is, like, at some point they stop making games for the old hardware. That's what defines the generation going forward. But that's not going to even happen until 3 years or so after you buy new hardware, right? Anyway, so you're talking about still a longer cycle for the current gen consoles.
Yeah, and if you look at these platforms, you look at the console platforms, they really don't adhere to a specific date together. I mean, typically Xbox and Sony, they're around the same time, but like the Switch, Nintendo, they've been doing their own thing. They've just been coming out with consoles and willy-nilly, whenever they feel like it. And they're about to have a Switch 2. Does that start the 10th generation, or it doesn't? It's silly. So you're right about that, Mav. It's like, do we really need to focus on generations, or is this something to where technology keeps moving? Just throw out these consoles as you feel, as a corporation. If you feel 5 years is good, put it out in 5 years.
Yeah, Cole brought up a good thing talking about the phones and stuff before, because it's like, if you got like a iPhone 14 or whatever now, it's like, do I have a 14th generation iPhone, or is it like, you bought a game way back in the day, and there's a good chance it's still going to play on your new phone. You know what I mean? It's because you bought it a long time ago in the same ecosystem.
Most people, they change their phones every 2 years. Once they pay it off, they usually get the brand new version of whatever phone they carry, whether it be
probably
Samsung
at least 2
or
to
iPhone.
4 years, and they're spending double. They're
2 to 4 years,
$1,000 to $1,200 on a phone.
For sure. After 4 years, they kind of push you into that with phones anyway, because your battery starts fucking up, or something's getting worse. They put out updates that really kill the software in your phone after a couple of years. So they force you, they nudge you to get a brand new phone. So yeah, most people do that. And it's kind of the same thing with consoles, if you really think about it, because these games, as better technology comes out, more features are produced for these developers to use, they start pushing that fidelity, they start pushing those features, and then it kind of makes your system that you've had for the last 5 years obsolete, or just not run the games very well. So, I mean, we're already 3 years. I can't believe that, guys. We're 3 years into this generation, and Cole, I got lambasted for saying, that I feel like it's just started, because they just got rid of cross-gen, and we had COVID.
I know people can argue with you when you say that, because PlayStation put out big AAA games like God of War and Miles Morales and stuff like that, and Ratchet and Clank, but those are last generation sequels. They're
pretty much,
those can run on last generation hardware. They just took a great foundation and made an incredible sequel. And then Xbox tried to reboot Halo and didn't do it too great. And too great sounded like I was it didn't do it too great, sounded like Rocky Balboa. And Forza Horizon 5 looks phenomenal, but it looks slightly better than Forza Horizon 4. We just haven't really kicked off the generation, and then we're getting Spider-Man 2, and I'm just kidding. I mean, Starfield's going to be a big deal. Like, Starfield actually stretches what we've been able to play in a long, long time, which is nice. It's just going to take a little while until
it's funny you mentioned that about Spider-Man.
What? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I think it's just going to take a little while for the games start coming out where they feel like, because we had so many 1.5s that we loved. Like Cyberpunk wasn't transformative. It was great. Out by
and Amazon,
Far Cry 6 wasn't transformative.
But when Iron Galaxy took over, it kind of like we got
whoa.
Whoa, I'm hearing some myself. It's really weird. Yeah.
That was weird. Anyways, I forgot.
No, I'm just saying.
But you brought up Spider-Man too.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You were saying what? I don't want to.
I'm just saying, like, Cyberpunk wasn't transformative. It was super great, and Far Cry 6 was just another reskin Far Cry, but it was really great. We've had really amazing games, but we have not had what we expect to be transformative. But I mean, we did get 2 years of almost everything was at 60, and now you have to kind of scratch your head wondering how things are going to move forward. You have Digital Foundry telling us that these consoles are going to run games at 30 on Unreal Engine 5. So the devs are going to be pushing harder and harder. And I hope they still see that we like performance modes.
Yeah. I mean, at the beginning of this generation, you had Aaron and Phil out there talking about how 60 was going to be the standard. And that's the exact quote. 60 would be the standard, and we would go up to 120 frames. didn't age very well, and it sucks that they put that out there. But they're not developers. They can't foresee what.
And they didn't say requirement. Happen. They said standard. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it would hurt more.
But it sucks that happened.
I think Starfield is like one that's like easily forgiving because of how massive a scope and ambitious the game is. But like what hurt them was Redfall, because there's no excuse or reason that Redfall should have been only 30 frames. And then a lot of these other games from third-party publishers now that are releasing, those are causing this asterisk for me for these current-gen consoles. And it's not about I'm worried about the capability of the hardware. It's about I'm thinking it's more of the decision-making and the priorities of the developers that are making these games. And Jedi Survivor was one. We already talked about that. And I mean, there's some other examples too. Like it's just time and time again.
And we'll bring that up
on PS5, 7. What is up with how they decided to do that game? There's no reason and excuse for that game to be that way. I don't understand the decision making there. Final Fantasy 16.
Final Fantasy 16.
You have like 30. Oh yeah. Hey, in the open world, it's going to be like 30 frames and with stuff. But when you're locked into battle, all of a sudden it's 60 frames. Oh, but it's going to be 720p. Like, I mean, what is that? What is up with that? Like, this is a game that would have easily been 60 frames before if they weren't pushing the fidelity boundaries, right? On all these different things they're trying to do. I just don't understand the decision making sometimes, and I think that's not going to change. That's something that's not going to change. Yeah. We can't change the mind of the developers and how they think with developing games, right? So the only thing we can hope for is better hardware as often as possible for me.
I just don't understand what made Final Fantasy 16 so demanding that it was running that way when Final Fantasy 15 is in a big open world, like the fully open world. And I traversed across that entire map for hours and hours. I put like 80 hours into that game and it looks really nice. And I played Final Fantasy 16. It looks better, but I played it in 30 frames mode in the demo for the first 20 minutes. And then I'm like, okay, let's see how performance mode's doing. And yeah, there you go. You can't have one or the other, apparently.
Yeah, and I know my audio, I'm having issues with the sync and everything, the video and audio. I don't know why it's doing that lately. I've tried to run it out of beta and it's still doing it. I don't know. I've got to fix some stuff. So apologies for that, folks. I apologize. It makes it really try to
but you have the best looking and sounding podcast, so we forgive you.
Well, not when it's out of sync. It sucks. Anyways, no, you brought up a good point about, the hardware and stuff, because I was going to get into that a bit with this next topic with Baldurs Gate 3. We know it's now launched a month early for PC, basically. It launched on the 3rd, and early indications are that this is a Game of the Year contender. Any of you picked this up on PC?
I've been waiting for this game for years, man. Yes. I'm a huge CRPG fan. Neverwinter Nights, which was also a BioWare original RPG back in the early 2000s, was kind of like a spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate because they're both D&D properties. BioWare made the original Baldur's Gate, then they made Neverwinter Nights. Neverwinter Nights is my top 5 games of all time. So when I found out that Larian, who I was a huge fan of, also because I love the Divinity games, I'll play great on console, all that. I found out they were getting Baldur's Gate 3. It's like perfect matchup, because I know that they can do justice to the property, and there ain't no chance in hell BioWare's doing it now. I mean, who knows what they're even doing with Dragon Age. So now that when I found out Larian was doing it, I've just been waiting. I did pick up the game preview like a month ago or so just to dabble in it because I was getting excited and I just wanted to see some stuff and make a character and things. And then I downloaded it day one here, and dude, I've been having so much fun. It is a dream come true type game for me. The fact that we can get this AAA experience in a game like this is just very rare.
Yeah,
I'm super happy about it.
So how many hours have you put in so far?
Probably like 10
Have you
I
felt
think.
any of that, that element of choice, like, because it's supposed to give you a lot of choice within this game.
Oh,
that matters.
dude,
anyway.
I mean, every second is a choice in this game. I mean, this is really like, they give you the landscape, they give you a base story to work within, but you create your own with every decision you make in this game, and you can make massively impactful decisions that are going to completely derail things or have everybody have a completely different experience. And the best way that I can explain it is like, it's an epic masterclass fantasy novel tabletop type world that they built for you, and you're creating the story based out of the base elements that they've given you, and it's just, everything is just so spot on. The storytelling, the acting, the abilities, the skill trees, the care, like everything is just amazing, dude. They really nailed it for this type of game.
Let me ask you though, are you kind of do you feel like you've jumped in too soon because we got Starfield right around the corner?
No, this will be a game I play for a decade also.
Like, well, Starfield, the reason why I say that is because I'm somebody who can't jump from one game to another and go back and forth.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I'm looking at this game and I'm saying, even though it comes out day and date with Starfield, and I really want to play Baldurs Gate 3, Starfield takes precedent for me. And in that situation, I can't play two very different long ass games, at the same time. Yeah.
For me, I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between Diablo 4 and Baldur's Gate 3 up until Starfield launches. And then when Starfield launches, I'll play mostly Starfield. And when I take my breaks, I'll hop back over to Baldur's Gate 3 occasionally. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Plus Forza Motorsport. I'm going to play the hell out of that too. Right.
Yep.
I'm super excited for Forza. But I play a lot of variety of games, but I get what you're saying, Fonz. There's some people that really have to like.
I want to devote all the time into one big game like that, until I finish it, basically. And with Starfield, I can honestly see myself playing Starfield for months.
Yeah, that's the way Pong is too. Like Pong is like, he's gonna play this until Starfield comes out, and then Starfield will be his game. But he said for right now, Baldur's Gate 3 has become his game of the year temporarily until Starfield comes out.
That's what I'm hearing. Excellent game.
It is fantastic. It's not for everybody, right? Like some people are just that need that fast action, like all the Souls players out there that just like the fast action combat and really have to be like moving quickly and it may be put off by this, and people that need their handheld and play these third-person action adventure games only may not actually find that they enjoy this type of experience. Now, I'm hoping they do, because there's a lot of those guys that are going to be getting this now because it's being used for console war nonsense. That this is actually, I think, become the most pre-ordered game now on PS5, even over Spider-Man 2, is what I saw on on Twitter or something like that, or X, whatever the stupid site's called now. But yeah, I saw that it says become the #1 pre-order game now, even on PS5, and it's doing massive numbers on PC. But I think there's some people that aren't really understanding what kind of game this is, as well as I might be a little surprised when they play it. But I hope they like it, and if the console war nonsense of this helps the game, I'm happy, because I want more publishers to invest in games like this. I want EA to see this game and see this hardcore adult themed, like, this is not a casual experience. This is not made for the masses or to appeal to everybody. This game is doing crazy numbers, and I want them to look at Dragon Age and say, okay, do we need to keep tinkering with it and making it this like mass casual type experience, or can we go back to the roots and make a hardcore badass Dragon Age game, right? And other examples across the industry there, and not just in this genre, right? This Ubisoft is guilty of this. They're trying to fit everything into a box. If you make a great game, there's a better chance than not that you're going to find an audience, and you don't have to cater to the masses to be able to get that. People get excited for stuff that they think is is amazing and badass and fun, and it looks fun. And I think that this game is transcending a genre. So the biggest thing for me is I hope that the publishers see this.
I think one of the things that's happening is that you've got a lot of casual gamers out there who picked up Diablo 4, had a lot of fun with it, and are looking at this game kind of in the same light. And yes, I know it's a different type of experience. It's not like Diablo.
Very different.
it's more turn-based. But it's definitely a game that I think a lot of people are kind of excited for because of games like Diablo that have come out, and also people out there that are very into like Dungeons and Dragons, because it's essentially what it is, really, in video game form. I've played the older Baldur's Gate games in the past, and I really enjoyed them. So I'm looking forward to this. But again, Starfield, it comes out the same day. And on console, and I've got to play Starfield. That's the one I'm going to be jumping into.
I don't blame you at all, man.
Yeah.
This will be eventually like
it'll
be on Xbox eventually. So like,
Colt,
if you want to play it on Xbox or PS5 later or whatever.
Yeah, Colt, I wanted to ask you. This is something that's kind of being weaponized by fanboys out there, of course, but the reason why the studio behind Baldur's Gate, Larian Studios, the reason why it's not coming out day and date on Xbox is because, and they've been very vocal about this, they've said that they're having a hard time with the split screen on the Series S console, getting it to work. Do you think that this is a situation where the Series S is holding back the Series X, or do you think that this is something that will get rectified and it just takes time? That sort of
financially, the Series S is holding back the entire Xbox platform with this respect to this game. And Xbox is doing the stupidest thing they could possibly do in 2023 is to take one of the year's biggest games, one of the biggest games and one of the highest rated games that is coming out this year, and not allow it to release on Xbox console because of split screen parity. So what Xbox should have done is they should have talked to Larian about this and said, look, how long is it going to take you to get to the split screen working on both Series S and X? And if they said 2, 3, 6 months, Xbox should have said, okay, this is way too important. Forget the parity. No split screen on Xbox. If you want to play it on split screen, you have to buy it on PlayStation. Just get the game on Xbox. There'll be no split screen available. We'll take the hit from PR when all the news articles come out and say, if you want to play split screen, you got to get a PS5, because they are losing out on massive sales on Xbox, on Series S and X, and they're missing out on all of the mind share and their fans being able to buy this game on a console that they want to play it on, because they want to hold on to that parity purity. And I think it's the dumbest thing they could be doing this year. In fact, I think it is one of the dumbest things they've done this year, and they've done a few dumb things in regards to one of their games earlier this spring. But this is a really stupid thing that if anybody from Xbox was to hear this clip and hear what I'm saying, you made the wrong choice. You should have stopped, said, forget parity. It's not worth it. This is a big game. We need to support these developers and allow them to sell their game right here. And they lost it.
I'll take it a step further, though, Colt, even, and say to Larian themselves, because now I respect developers' choice in making their vision.
Yeah.
Right. However, in an instance where you have a mode in there, right, that nobody is going to play, like this is a PC first.
Well, hold on. Game. That's extreme. There will be some people who will play split screen couch co-op. But you're right. Overall, the majority will not.
But like, also this game, like, just to be honest, like, it's not something you would necessarily even want to play split screen. In my opinion, like, it's just not that kind of game. Like, I understand Larian's thoughts. Like, I want to have all these features, and I want to cater to all the gamers, and I want to, do this, and it's like a standard that we have, and that's cool. But
yeah.
Who plays split screen on PC? This is a PC first game. I have never heard of anybody ever playing split screen on a PC.
It is so difficult to get split screen to work on PC especially with the controller. Like it is not like it is on console. And I do have to say, because the chat's like tell me, I'm not right on some things, because for all I know, Larry may be saying, look, there's no way we're not launching this without split screen. We want everyone to have that couch co-op experience, or to play it online, locally, or across the internet, however they want. And so they're like, we have to wait, Xbox. Maybe that's what they're saying. Regardless of that, I think Xbox should still step in and say, look, you don't have to do it. Just get the game out. In fact, what the heck is wrong with saying this parity thing is such bullcrap? What the heck is wrong with them saying split screen is going to come at a later date? Because you're definitely leaving behind 30 frames. Like, there are games that only run at 30 on Series S. So why in the world? And I know it's not a gameplay mode or a way to play game. Well, it kind of is. So I don't know. I think they're picking and choosing.
We have to remember too, guys, is that Xbox themselves are 343, mind you, did the same thing with Halo Infinite with their split screen. They couldn't get it to work on the Series S.
That game you can see.
No, they couldn't get it working on Xbox One.
About not having.
On Xbox One. Yeah, I thought it was Series S.
It was last gen was the problem. No, it's fine. On Series S.
So they got it on Series. That's right, because people were able to like break into that mode, right? Like hack into it. Gotcha. Okay.
But even as a financial decision for Larian, you're making a decision. Like, let's say Larian made a decision. Okay, we're just gonna release an update later across all platforms for split screen to avoid the parity thing, and that way we can have a global launch on PC, on PlayStation 5, on Xbox, and do everything the same date. As amazing that this game is doing now, could you imagine how much bigger it would be if they were able to do PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 5 day and date? And also, nobody gives a shit about the split screen.
But Mav, I distinctly remember some people in the Xbox community that were really upset over the split screen not being there for Halo Infinite.
Yeah, because it makes sense for Halo Infinite. This game, it doesn't make sense. Like, there's no reason you need split screen in this game.
That's where I disagree.
Like co-op online in this, yeah, cool. But I'm playing it. Pong's playing it. Jasper's playing it. A bunch of people from our channel. We don't even care about playing co-op together right now. No, maybe a lot of people will, and we could play online together and all that kind of stuff. But like, I'm not going to sit here with somebody next to me on my PC and play split screen on Baldurs Gate3. That's just almost weird, man. I understand that maybe some of you
weird
that like to do it, but like, there's such a like.
Hey Mav, it's like, your turn to move. It's your turn to move.
With Halo, there's a large right. With Halo, there's a large amount of players that actually play that mode. With this game, you got like maybe half of 1% of players, if that, would ever even touch split screen co-op on Baldur's Gate.
The difference is Halo launched. Like, they put out Halo. They didn't hold it and never release it because there was no split screen. Like, this is a different situation. Like, they're not going to release Baldur's Gate on Xbox until split screen is there. Like, it's holding back its allowance to be on Xbox. Like, I'm just saying, just kick it to the curb and say Series X gets split screen co-op, Series S doesn't, or Xbox platform on console doesn't get split screen. We're so sorry to the 3% that may. But
so
I'm also
you have
the kind
like
of guy
three people
if
that
you
would be
want
upset.
to, you still can. Like, that should be a.
But you know, you're on a slippery slope there, Colt, because you get a lot of people out there who get upset about, hey, well, I bought into the Series S because of that parity, because I knew I was getting the same games with the same gameplay modes. I was getting that with this console, and now you're shortchanging me.
What people don't realize is they don't realize how good games look on a Series S.
I know. I have one.
Set them in front of a Series S, they'd be going, "Oh, crap! I thought this thing was trash."
No, it's not a bad. It's not a bad little console.
It's amazing.
It's very capable, but unfortunately, there are things that if it can't do what the Series X can't do. I'm in your camp in this situation. Like, I would rather omit the split screen there for them, but you'll get a lot of people yelling at you. I had people yelling at me for like the last episode for saying the same thing about
They'll yell about it because of the premise. not because they actually ever cared to play split screen on Baldurs Gate 3. There is, I literally do not know anybody that would play Baldurs Gate 3 in split screen mode. Like, I understand that the premise of it sucks, right? Oh, Xbox can't do it, so remove it from everybody. Oh, it's Xbox's fault. I get that. I get that. And Larian can't take it back now because that's the image that Xbox would portray. So they can't do that now. What I'm saying, it was a stupid decision for them to have this mode that nobody is ever going to play, force them to not be able to release this game to millions of more players day one. That would have been very beneficial to them and to the game. Now, you can say, well, it's Xbox's fault. The developers have their vision. Yes, that's cool and all. I get it. You want the developers to be able to have the vision and make the games that they're passionate about and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes reality is you got to make business decisions too. And if there's something that only 3 out of a million people are going to play, I'm talking about 3 people, maybe out of a million, are ever going to touch this damn mode, and it's costing millions of players never to be able to get this game, that just look at that and be like, maybe I need to rethink this decision.
It also hurts. It hurts the game itself, and like it hurts their sales, because let's be honest, like a lot of Xbox guys, they're going to be playing other games that have come out, and by the time Baldur's Gate comes around, who knows when that'll be, they'll probably be heavily invested into something else anyway. So those that may have tried it day and date, who knows, they may have lost out on that sale. I don't know, but it just sucks when you don't have the game coming out the same date as every other platform. It feels like you're left out a bit, as a gamer. I have to say that, it does. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in the future. Let me get to some of these super chats before I lose track. I got one here from Web Dave. Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate you, man. He says, mega panel and the birthday boy Fonz. Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Sith Lord with a $2 super chat says, it's good to see you fine gentlemen this evening. Good to see you too as well. Thank you. Yeah. And I got Lord Metroid celebrating 7 months of membership. Thank you very much, Lord Metroid. I appreciate you, man. He says, ray tracing is nonsense. I care about gameplay. Salute, Fonz. It's not nonsense, but I'd rather have, the baked-in lighting and 60 frames over ray tracing. I'd rather have that if I could have that. Face 23 BKNY, thank you very much for the super chat. He says, do you guys doubt Spider-Man 2, which is PS5 only, going to have ray tracing? Do you doubt it's going to have ray tracing, a ray trace performance mode? Do you guys doubt that?
No, it'll absolutely have it, because it's the same game they built in 2018 and 2020.
It's the same
it'll
game.
Absolutely have ray tracing performance.
Most of the game have the 3 modes on it, right? They have like the 4K 60 mode, they'll have the 1440 ray trace mode, and then they'll have one other mode.
That's where you're wrong though, Colt. This game was built from the ground up on the PS5.
Yeah, I mean, they can't have it both ways. Before? I know that they like to say that it's next generation only, it's pushing the envelope, but then they're like, it's going to have ray tracing performance because, moving the goalposts. It'll absolutely have. And I know John Linneman said they've only shown us 30 FPS trailers, cinematics, gameplay. And he's like, could it only be at 30 FPS? And I'm like, no way.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And you know what? And it's funny because I bring that up, the whole, built from the ground up for the PlayStation 5, because that's what they said for Miles Morales, which we knew that was just BS. But anyways, it was on the PlayStation 4 for crying out loud. So they scaled it up a bit for the PlayStation 5, made it nice and shiny, and it was beautiful. One of the best looking games I played on the PlayStation 5 was Miles Morales. Gorgeous 6-hour DLC. Loved it. Loved every minute of that
DLC.
But it was in fact not built from the ground up for the PlayStation 5. So
again, no, it doesn't work both ways, unfortunately. Yeah.
Just one of those little white lies they sometimes tell us, Thanks very much, Face. Another super chat here. Thank you very much. He says, Revenant 2 is also 720p 60 on both PS5 and Series X. What in the hell is up with this 720p 60 frames performance modes? Why?
It is.
Is this Unreal Engine 5, Colt? This game, Mav? Do you know?
It is UE5, and it is
why.
like upscaled 720. Now I gotta say, I didn't know. I mean, I played this game, and I didn't know it was that resolution being upscaled because it looked pretty good. But it's kind of
it looked pretty good.
UE5 is. I'm just gonna say it. I don't get the Unreal Engine hype. Anytime people talk about Unreal Engine and oh my god, this game's got Unreal Engine. I remember at the Summer Game Fest, and like Keeley was up there, and this next demo, you're gonna see if this game is running in Unreal Engine 5. And
you should have heard the guy behind us, because my wife and I were there. We were there with Cognito and Addict and Hargeet Johnny. And there was a guy behind me. They go, this next game was built all from the ground up on Unreal Engine 5. This guy goes, Unreal Engine 5, let's get it. And then this game comes up, looks like it was made like 2007.
Yeah, you can hear the crowd.
I just started laughing.
Unreal Engine 5. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Unreal Engine 5 at 720p, blurry mess.
It's all marketing. I don't care what engine your game is made in. Just make it run good and play good. Like, a lot of the Unreal Engine 4 games are the games that we're getting at 30 frames now. Gotham on consoles, like Gotham Knights, right? It's 30.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna, like you said,
Unreal Engine 5 game that we've gotten, Mav, so far on these consoles that have a performance mode has gone down to like 720p.
It's like, yay! Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. Thanks for making that beautiful engine. This happens every time with Unreal, man. Every time with Unreal, it's all this Unreal hype, and then like Coalition is the only one that does it right, and then like Fortnite.
We saw Dying Light 2 and Far Cry 6 and a bunch of other games that ran at 1440p 60, and they held it really well. And now all of a sudden,
hold up. Is that Unreal Engine 4 though, Colt?
No, the Far Cry 6 is the. Oh my gosh.
Dunia.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, can we go back to Unreal Engine 4 then? I'll go back to Unreal Engine 4 if we can for performance modes, please. Because what am I getting here? I am fine with last-gen graphics.
Dude, if it has co-op and open world, don't do it in Unreal Engine, please. Okay?
I'm fine with last-gen graphics scaled up. I mean, look at the freaking beautiful games you just mentioned, Colt, or even, Odyssey, or any of the AC games that are on the Xbox Series X. They look amazing.
Yeah, and they're using their own engine. I don't know what.
Yeah, but that's fine. It's like
last generation.
Then let's not use Unreal Engine 5. You know, like I don't know until you get the hang of it for the performance modes. I'm just tired of the 720p.
Dead Island 2 is really great performance and graphics in Unreal Engine 4, but they had to break it up into zones to be able to achieve that also, and that has co-op. So it's not impossible for games to run great and have a great performance. But that was from like Dam Busters, so. I was like, yay, Dam Busters are finally the ones that cracked the code on co-op and Unreal Engine 4 in a wide open setting.
You know, it's too.
Yeah. Then you get a piece of the guy.
Runs really. Yeah, it ran. I think it dropped it. The game runs routinely at 59 to 60 FPS under the heaviest loads. I don't know. Maybe there's just something about. Maybe there's some bloated stuff that has to be optimized with Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Well, of course,
don't let people tell you, man, they should just do this in Unreal. We got that so much with the Starfield discussion. Yeah. Like, why don't they just do it in Unreal Engine 5? It's like
Halo talk too.
If you want it to be your paint by numbers open world game like that we've been getting for the past several years, sure.
Yeah, you're 100% right about the bloat, though, Colt. That's exactly what it is with these new, tools that they get. These engines. They are very bloated, and then they start getting better. And we've got like Unreal Engine, 5.2 or whatever we're on now, and it has gotten less bloat. It's been a bit more streamlined. However, we're still getting that 720p, 60 frames on these games. Like we need to up that res a bit, because even with what is it? Not DLSS. What do we have on the console? FSR. It's not working that great, because you mentioned it earlier, Mav, and I've mentioned it numerous times. Jedi Survivor, it's a blurry mess, especially your character. If you look at Cal's face, there's like no details in his face in performance mode. It's terrible.
It looks like crap. Fonz.
It really does. Risk it for the biscuit.
Like a screen door over his hair and everything.
And you know what's funny?
Yeah.
All the things that are causing it to look like crap are the things they implemented to supposedly make the game look amazing. It's so stupid. I don't understand it.
I got Risk It for the Biscuit here. Thank you very much. With a $7.99 Australian, that's like $300 for me. It's here in the US. He says, I'm happy that I don't have to contend with BG3 or Baldurs Gate 3 on Xbox, to be honest. I'm happy to wait. Hopefully, yeah, I'm in the same boat there. He hopes there's a gap next year that Baldur's Gate will fill. I hope so too. That's
Baldur's
the best.
Gate?
Yeah, that's the best case scenario. If there's like a gap of, that there's no games for you to play on Xbox and Baldur's Gate drops right there. I would love that. That'd be awesome. Golf Dad 68. Thank you very much for the super chat. He says, helping with the uploading costs. Appreciate you. I think the audio sync might be a bit better. I was making some changes here on the fly. Colt Eastwood, you're what in the chat? Thank you very much, brother. You didn't have to do that. But he says, happy birthday, Jay. Glad we've been friends for the past 6 years. Yes, I'm very glad that we've been friends for 6 years now. Man, we're getting old, buddy, together. Mm-hmm. It's strange. It's weird.
I remember when we met, we hadn't started shaving yet. So it's been...
No, you know what? Are you talking about down there?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. Mike, thank you very much for $10. He says, Baldur's Gate 3 is a massive game. It is completely implausible the Series S is just... Or is it completely implausible that the Series S is just a scapegoat for Larian to focus on one console port at a time? No, I don't believe that at all. I don't think they have a marketing deal because that would be illegal, I think. I think they could get into legal trouble if they were to hide a marketing deal. If there was some sort of secret marketing deal they didn't talk about and they held it from another console. Whoa, what happened there? Anyways.
Yeah, they don't want this situation at all. Yeah, they wish they didn't have to deal with it.
No, and plus, again,
if only there was an easy solution.
It hurts the sales of their games. They could have more sales. Man, I made that way too big. Look at that. Damn. Risk It for the Biscuit. Thank you very much for the $2.99. Again, that's like $150 here in the US. He says, should Xbox S and X be modular? We talked about this a couple episodes ago, I believe. Colt, do you think that they should be modular? And, if people don't understand, basically like a computer, you change the GPU out, the CPU, whatever, little things here, add RAM. I said no. What do you
There's no way. There's no way to do it. I mean, they glue everything together and they bolt it together. That's just like, to make it modular, the console would be way bigger and it would it would just be all kinds of problems. And yeah, I mean, they don't even want you to open the thing up. So there isn't really a way to like snap in or like back plug in a new CPU. It's like really and we talked about this in the beginning of the show, and you have to take a minute and just go, Mav built a supercomputer to play Starfield, and he spent almost 4 times more to get it. He spent 4 times the amount of money to play something at a better fidelity than Xbox. So if he's going to play Starfield at 60, he had to spend 3 to 4 times more money to do it. So
yeah,
really, mostly a console is $500. It evens out to about $500, $400. It's not that big of a purchase. And when it's time for a new one, why would you want to slap something in there? And there's just too much liability.
Every 5 years, Xbox. Every 5 years.
Yes, please.
I have to quote Cassie when she was on the show. We were talking about this, and she said people went apeshit over the one screw for the stand on the PlayStation 5. Do you really think they're going to want to open up their freaking consoles to replace RAM or GPUs or whatnot? Most console gamers just aren't that technically inclined.
The only way I could think they would do it, and the consoles would be ugly as hell, and they would look really weird, and they'd be huge. Like Colt says, if you had like bays kind of where you like pull it out from the front and like put in something else, or from the back, but like that would be, it would take some crazy engineering to make that work, and it would be really expensive. So I think inherently the console would be a lot more up front just for that.
It doesn't work because if you connect something in there, it's limited by its bandwidth on the connection. Right. So when they put that APU on the board, and it's got lanes running directly to the RAM and directly from the power supply and sending everything through the memory bus system. Like that all has to be on the fastest, lightning fast lane, that the lanes that it can take to get the console to have its performance. And if you plug something through some like 20 copper or brass like connection points, it just wouldn't work. And I remember this is how I got to know Dealer Gaming's channel. Is he was answering these questions back in 2016 when we were like, is Xbox going to go modular with their next console before the Scorpio was announced? And he was doing such a great job of explaining that you can't USB in or plug something in, that it just completely limits its performance ability.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it could be cool, but if it was, PC would be the first one to do it. And it's just not going to work.
Yeah, Dealer's very smart with the tech stuff for sure.
Yep.
He really is. Biff Rinaldi, since you were talking about this here, I decided to choose your super chat right now. Thank you for celebrating 8 months, by the way. He says, modular would allow some of us to not waste money on disk drives we're never going to use. Happy birthday, Fonz. What do you think about that?
Mav, when's the last time you used a disc? Or bought one, I guess.
Well, last game I bought with a disc was NBA 2K23, or 2K22, just because it had Dirk on the cover. And I'm a huge Mavs fan, and I've been waiting years for that. That's the last disc game I bought, so I played that on disc. That's it.
Mine was Jedi Survivor on the PS5. I bought it because I was able to get it cheap. Because I only bought one game for $70 this gen so far, because I refused to pay that price. You know, it's ridiculous. So I bought the disc version for the Jedi Survivor because I heard it was better than the Xbox version. But then I found out the whole VRR thing was better on the Xbox. So performance mode actually ran better on Jedi. So anyways, long story short, that was the first disc I've used in many years. Since probably 2018. So I'm pretty much all digital now. So
yeah,
I've been all digital since late Xbox One generation, probably. I still bought some games back then, like when I was buying Madden every year, or like games that I knew I was going to buy yearly. A lot of times I would buy that. So that way I would trade it in or sell it when I knew I was done with it, right? Anticipation that I was going to have to spend another $60 in a few months, right? So, but besides that, I prefer digital, and I think more for the forward compatibility. Kind of we talked about earlier, how your library carries forward with you. It's so easy.
Yeah, of course, but it also for me anyway. It's just having those game discs around. You know, the casings and everything. It's just honestly, like, I don't have a place for them to just sit and decorate my wall or whatever. So it's just like, I don't care to anyway. I'd rather play the games rather than show off the coaster that is the disc in the box, because that's essentially what it is. As time went on with this whole digital gaming stuff, we've seen where some of these games you can't even play without a patch day one. So what's the use? What's the point of having the disc? Like ownership. That's all you hear from people. But it's like, if you even read the box, it says you're buying, like you're essentially renting the license for the game. Like, you're not even owning that license for that game. Like, so you don't own the game. Yeah.
Like, look at Babylon's Fall, right? That game, people had paperweights after a year, right? Because they shut down all the servers on it. Like that disc doesn't give you anything. Right. In fact, GameStops and places were just throwing them away because they had too many of them.
Yeah. RDX Son of Fett, thank you very much for the $13.99. He says, get Dreamcast guy on to talk about his Starfield hate. No thanks. No thanks. Let's go to the next here. Wade Johnson, thank you for that super chat though. I appreciate you. Wade Johnson, thank you very much. He says, I know how to get Baldurs Gate 3 to Xbox, make Series S 1080p, then it can, well, it's more than that. I heard it comes down to the RAM and the basically what's allocated to the CPU. It's not enough. It doesn't meet the requirements for the game, for split screen anyway. I guess the CPU RAM is like 4 gigabytes on PC. That's the lowest. And I guess there's only 2 gigs of RAM allocated to the CPU on the Series S. I heard that's what it is.
there's 8 gigs total, but on a typical desktop PC or even a Steam Deck, there is a lot more RAM on there. But you have to remember, when you do split screen, you're asking the game to render everything twice, even though it only takes up half the screen. And that's why it's even, there are some games I've played, I think last generation, that when you play split screen, they run it, you're in 30 frames mode. Now you're no longer in performance mode. So it's pretty intensive, and they just can't get it working. And they said it's just going to take them time to get it working and get everything optimized. It's not about resolution. The game probably already is at 1080p on Series S anyway. So,
all right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's 3 to 6 months probably. I mean, we don't even have a freaking Redfall performance mode update, or even they haven't even whispered when that's going to be. So,
yeah. Larian said it might be 2024 sometime before.
So
yikes.
Based on this super chat here from Andrew Reeves, thank you very much. He says, can we get a poll on how many people here would use split screen? I just did that. I put up the poll. Let's see.
First off, I want to, if you don't understand what kind of game Baldur's Gate 3 is, or have no knowledge of what it is, don't answer this question.
Mav, now that's not fair. Because what if, I could be sitting right next to you playing the game and going, it's your turn to move. How do you have a
battle,
+4
battle in this
mace?
game will take over an hour or more, because you're making all these decisions, and like it's just for one battle. Like it's just,
you can talk strategy with your buddy next to you.
I get it. Like, okay, so let's say you're a married couple, or you know what I mean, or you got your best buddy and you live together, and you just want to have your experience where y'all play the game together and have your own adventure. I get, but the situation where that's going to be the case is like very, very slim amount of people in a game like
that. No, you're right. You're right. See, Whooby, you. Okay. Like the name. He's thank you very much for the super chat. He says Starfield, Baldurs Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom. Who wins Game of the Year? Well, there's so many games, and Colt talks about this a lot too. There's so many games to list that people have been saying are contenders for this year that there's not room for everybody. No. There's just not. It's a huge freaking year for gaming. I mean, we may complain a lot, guys, but honestly, we've had a lot of games to play this year that are great. Really great.
Yeah. I mean, the Game of the Year thing comes down to what type of games the jury panel is going to want to say represents 2023, So a lot of jury panel members may just say, look, I want to make sure I represent this type of game, this size of game, this emotional impact type of game, and make sure I give the whole spread for my selection. And then I think each of them will probably do that. And that might leave out some of your favorite games you played this year. Like if you think that Hogwarts Legacy was the best game that you felt the best about, it might not even make the list. It's going to be kind of crazy. It's a big year. Really and you know what, Fonz, I'll end with this. Alan Wake 2 is probably going to get that nomination in one of those very, very luxurious spots.
You think
and
so?
I know how you and I think of modern Remedy.
Yeah. And look, outside of Mad Max, I do not like Remedy games. I don't. I think they're just boring, but
I liked Alan Wake 1, but I don't know. We'll see if Alan Wake 2 catches.
I don't see that game catching Game of the Year. I don't see that.
From
what I've seen so far, we've only seen very little, but from what I've seen,
I have a feeling that it's just that the artistic value of that type of game, that kind of like Quantum Break was revving into that. And that's part of the stuff I didn't really care for.
Hey, Colt.
But a lot of people really like those games.
Colt, how many police reports are you going to have to read in Alan Wake 2?
Yeah, I liked Alan Wake 1 a lot. But
how much stuff are you going to have to read though? Like,
it isn't like that in Alan Wake 1. A lot of it, I know, but you walked in front of a TV in an abandoned room, and you were like, watch it and listen. With all the other, oh my gosh!
But with the Remedy games as of late, like Control especially, like you're constantly picking up stuff to read, and that's how you get most of the story out of it and stuff. And it's just like, I want to just shoot some stuff. I don't know. I'm very easy to please, I guess. But or show me the story.
Are you going to play Baldurs Gate 3 someday, Fonz? Does that appeal to you at all? Have you looked at the gameplay?
Well, on Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Oh,
you used to play the old ones.
Yeah, I've played the other ones. I know what type of game it is. I'll definitely play it. But it's one of those games where I'm going to sink a lot of time into, and I don't want to start it to just move away from it for Starfield, because that's what's going to happen. Yeah. I'm going to be like, oh, Starfield's here.
Never nothing really else played exists. Those type of games growing up.
Because nothing else is going to exist but Starfield.
Cole, did you ever like JRPGs back in the day?
I still don't.
Yeah,
I've played the occasional turn-based game. Like, I just don't like them. And when I got back into gaming in like 2007, like in Force, I played a bunch of turn-based games, and I would play them for a couple minutes. I go, no, I don't want to do this, because it was like there was a while when that was like super big trend to have all your games be turn-based, and
turn-based games.
I just don't like them, but it's just me.
You have to have another element to it other than just the turn-based mechanic. You have to have a good story, I think, which it sounds like Baldur's Gate 3 really does. With all the JRPGs that I did invest time into, they had great stories, great narratives. Yeah. So that's what drew me to them.
The reason I was making the comparison is because like CRPGs, and especially like this game, like JRPGs back in the day, like the old Final Fantasies and stuff, is you had to think like 3 or 4 moves ahead a lot of times, right? To make sure you could get through the big boss fight or the battle that you have. And a lot of those battles like would take a really long time, because you're sitting there and you're thinking about it to try and overcome this obstacle. Yeah. And the game can be really challenging. Like it's not easy. You can't just like step into Baldur's Gate 3 and just think you're going to have a casual, you could probably put it on easy or whatever, but it has this casual experience and stuff. I mean, it is like a hardcore game for hardcore. And that's one of the reasons I love it, because it doesn't like hold anything back. You know, it's really saying, if you think about it, you could do it. You could kill one of the main characters at the beginning of the game and just just be gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that sort of stuff, though. I like that sort of stuff. USO Vinny, thank you very much for the $10 super chat. He says, happy birthday, Fonz. Thank you very much, Vinny. Vinny's been a good guy, good supporter for such a long time. Appreciate you, man. Eternal Shaddai, thank you very much for the $10. He says, good evening, panel. Why have the console modular? Look at what happened to the Steam machines with replaceable parts. The cost was over $1,000 for the consoles. Larian had co-op on Divinity Sin. No excuses. What do you think about that?
This is a much bigger game than the Divinity Original Sin games. Also much bigger, like better graphics and cinematics. Everything is like on another level. Like I love the Divinity games. That's why Larian was on my radar, and also they've done console ports in this genre better than anybody has ever done. Like the Divinity Original Sin 2 for me is a masterpiece and maybe the best CRPG we've gotten on console to date, with maybe Wasteland 3 being next after that. But like this takes everything that they did before and times 10, right? So I understand why they could potentially be having challenges, and that's why I also am making the crazy thought of maybe they shouldn't have had that mode if it's keeping millions of players.
I don't think it's a crazy thought, because so far our poll is showing that 83% of my audience here will not play split screen,
or do not.
I mean, even so, there's already a small section of gamers that play split screen, but even a less that would play a game like this in split screen. And that's my thought. Like, it's not like I love split screen games too. I play a game coming out soon is Moving Out 2, right? I played Moving Out 1 with my daughter and my wife, and we had a blast playing couch co-op, and we'll play other games split screen sometimes too. Like It Takes Two. As well. Like, but there's a lot of great experiences, but like,
but that game was made for split screen though. Like literally, that is the game. Like it's a split screen game. Rain G4, thank you very much for the $5 super. He says, "Good evening, panel. Fonz is now old enough to drink." Yeah, well, yeah. I've been there for many years. I hardly ever drink though. Like socially, I might have a drink, but I'm not big into drinking a beer or whatever when I get home. It's just not me. Mav, I thought someone was behind you. Colt, which is your favorite guitar? Which is your favorite guitar behind you, Colt?
Probably the one you can't see.
Is it the 150 or?
No, it's this one.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
and I refinished it. And yeah. But yeah, thank you. I love guitars.
What kind of guitar is that?
It's a Ernie Ball Luke model, who's one of my favorite guitarists. So yeah, I really like that guitar, and it feels the best to play. I have a Strat as well, and yeah, and I'll be doing that next month. Holy smokes, I'll be getting back into another band. That's gonna be crazy.
Getting the band back together.
Still hang.
Colt, that's big time.
No, I know I got enough stuff going on, but.
Highlander, thank you very much. Celebrating 5 months of membership. Appreciate you, brother. He says, only time I play split screen is with my daughter. But you play it.
Yeah. Don't let your daughter play Baldurs Gate 3, depending on how old she is. Crazy stuff in this game.
I heard. You know, there was one trailer, and I didn't show it because the whole trailer was pretty much just bare asses the whole time. Like it just like it kept like emphasizing that hey, there's sex in this game. There's there's nudity, and I'm like, okay, like you don't need to push it that hard. But
you choose your appendages and stuff. Like you can actually there's multiple options for both. And then there's like Jasper was telling me this. He's like, make sure you keep investigating the Goblin camp because there's something. In one of the areas in the building. So I went back and because I was going to move on past it, I went back and there's this barn, right? This barn in the back.
Oh.
And you get close to it, you open it up and there's like a troll and some other creature just like screwing.
When in the hay?
The door. And wow. It's just like the troll is like bent over, and you got this, it's called a bugbear. It's like a hairy goblin looking thing behind it. And then they get really mad. They get really mad that you interrupted their moment, So it's hilarious, though. It was funny. It's all for comedy.
Okay. On that note, we're going to move on. Let's talk about no Starfield demo at Gamescom. Colt, I'll start with you, man. Do you see this as an issue or a sign that Starfield can get delayed or is doomed in any way? No demo.
I'd like there be a demo. I'm not going to be in Germany, so I can't play it.
How are you going to make a demo for the game?
What would the demo be? Exactly. Like you would wait in line for 4 hours to play the game for 20 minutes to make a default character, land on the first moon that they showed in 2021 or 2022, and take out an outpost and then be told your time's up. I mean, I guess they could give you a later segment to play in the game, but
and then what is it? You're going to play, let's say they give you an action oriented segment. Okay. You get to shoot stuff for a little while or whatever, but is that really what represents a Bethesda RPG experience? No.
That's the problem with the game. On last Monday, I showed some combat clips that I put together of Fallout 76, and the combat looks kind of pretty cool for a game that most people say is garbage. But when you look at the combat, it's like, well, it's not the best shooting in the world in Fallout 76. And then you don't get the whole investment when you play a game. You only do it in Bethesda games where you grab the things you need, you loot, you pick up things, you level up, you're on a beeline toward getting the things you want or making the things you want and leveling up and unlocking that perk that you're waiting for. If I can get 2 more levels or discovering places, the stuff that happens over 2 hours that feels like 20 minutes. I would like for there to be a demo, but maybe Todd Howard just said, look, we're heads down. We don't have time to make a vertical slice that's playable. We're launching on, September 1st for early access people. We can't do a demo. We're just finishing the game. Then the other FUD is everyone saying they haven't announced they've gone gold. And like, typically games get announced a few months before they release that they're gone gold. And I'm like, no, typically a few months. They say a few months no, it's a few weeks. It could be 3 to 4 weeks. We're right there. But also Xbox hasn't always announced when they go gold. They don't have to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Mav, what do you think? That, there's no demo and apparently there's just no marketing out there, or not enough.
So this is already one of the most talked about games for the last several years. It's not like there's a shortage of people who know about Starfield and know that it's coming out on September 6th, right? Like, this is a massive deal. If you look on Steam charts, it's already one of the best-selling things there, up there over games that have been out all year, right? Like, in this game is not going to have trouble finding its audience, right? So there's some things where you have like, okay, we really need to push this out there because we need people to discover this, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I still think there's a lot of stuff that's out there that we're not seeing, because honestly, for like me, I don't hardly see any ads anywhere anymore, because either I have YouTube Premium, or I skip all the ads on YouTube, or all the subscription services that I have for streaming or whatever, I have the ad-free versions and all that kind of stuff. I don't really watch cable TV, so I don't know what's there as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what kind of marketing a lot of people are talking about when they say we haven't seen Starfield anywhere. I heard some people say, well, Final Fantasy 16 had their stuff on buses, right? Like, okay, are we really upset that Starfield didn't make a deal with your local transit authority? Like, who is getting upset about what and why? And I think a lot of it is just fake nonsense. Like the demo part too, Fonz. The demo part, like, Colt's right. Like, this game is about the decision making and scope and scale and all the story, and you investing your decisions and thoughts into this game, and about like, what kind of ship am I going to make, and where am I going to go next, and what am I going to do in this conversation, and all these things. It's more than just like a shooting mechanic or like a little demo that they could put together that's not going to tell the story. And sometimes a game like that, they don't do demos like that because it could give the wrong impression of the game, right? Like, okay, you get this little short segment, people think that's what the game is, and it's really so much more than that. And there's no way you can really give the impact of what Starfield is in this little playable demo for people at a show floor. They're going to have a presentation at the theater there, they said. Like, they have a 300 seat theater there at Gamescom, and Starfield's one of the games they're going to show on that. So who knows what they're going to show for that game, for Starfield there as well. But it's just nonsense from fake actors that are trying to drum up nonsense.
Yeah, and they had a playable 1-hour demo for IGN at the showcase in June. So that's much earlier. That was over a month ago. They did that, but that was a 1-hour sit down in a quiet room. But if you're going to put people in a crowded games floor and put them in line in front of a 24-inch monitor and say, like, here's a segment of Starfield, they could do it because they allowed people to demo Skyrim at like PAX or Gamescom or E3 or something way back in 2011. I remember people talking about how they got in there and they skipped the character creation and they just ran one direction as soon as they could, and they tried to experience as much as they could on a show floor, and they loved that. So
yeah, and that 1-hour demo that they have, that was behind closed doors, I believe, right? That was like invite only. I don't think that was just open to
that was only for Ryan McCaffrey, I think. I can't remember if Destin Legary got to sit in there as well, but I think only Ryan McCaffrey got to actually control the game. And
and that's
he
different
when he didn't get. Yeah,
that's different when you have somebody that is really excited for the game, understands the whole Bethesda game and stuff. When you just shove a game like this out in front of a large amount of people that have no idea really what, let's say that they've lived under a rock. They don't know what a Bethesda single player RPG is like. And they play this little vertical slice of the game, and it's a bunch of just, shooting or whatever. And let's be honest, the shooting mechanics in all of these games, Bethesda games, aren't the greatest. So I don't expect fantastic quality, but if it doesn't live up to their expectations of what a shooter should feel like, they may come away from that experience like, oh, this game sucks. I don't like this.
I would beg to differ on the shooting mechanics. I've been arguing with people for a long time.
No, I don't think they're horrible. Colt.
You're not getting Call of Duty shooting, but I think, I guess I'm saying this knowing it's going to drum up an argument. and I don't want it to, but I played so much Fallout 4 and now I've got 180 hours into Fallout 76. I think the shooting's great. There are some guns that feel crappy, like the pipe guns feel terrible in Fallout, but the rest of the guns feel really, really great. I really enjoy the gun combat. And then we've seen that over the past year with the extra delay that Starfield got, the shooting looks even better. So you're getting something even better than I think Fallout 4 and 76 have.
Cole,
it's going to be fantastic.
I'm not going to argue with that. I'm with you. I don't think it's horrible in any way. But what I'm saying is, if somebody picks it up and thinking that they're playing a third-person action adventure type game, or and they start shooting, and they're like, this doesn't feel like this other game that feels so much better. In that aspect, they'll come away from the experience kind of like, I don't know about Starfield. Starfield is mainly about the narrative. It's about that storyline. It's about exploration is a huge part of it. I see those being more of the reasons why I play a Bethesda single player RPG over the shooting mechanics, even though I have fun with it too, Colt. I have fun with the shooting too. It's not terrible. A lot of people gave a lot of flack to even Fallout 4, saying it didn't feel that good, but I thought it was good. It was decent. It wasn't fantastic, but it was decent.
Yeah, it's not fantastic, but I think it's still good.
There's also two thoughts to this about so there's people like, and I see Riskit addressing me in the chat, and to Riskit's point, I agree, and I have said on our shows a long time that I've criticized Xbox's marketing as a whole. I think they need to do better in a lot of different respects. But there's people taking this fact that there's not a demo at Gamescom, and then taking the fact that we're not seeing billboards and stuff like that as Starfield's in trouble. Starfield's doomed. There's something wrong with Starfield. And that's the fake crap that needs to die. Because there's nothing wrong with that. Now we can say, they should have they could do some more marketing there, here and there, and that's cool if you want to say that. But personally, also, this is one of the most talked about games in the last several years, and it still is today. So they've done their job as far as getting the word out, and they would have even without Xbox. Bethesda's been marketing this game for years. We just had what people called the biggest, best game presentation ever at the Xbox showcase, with the 45-minute demo that even a lot of the third-party big gaming sites and content creators were like, wow, that's the best thing I've ever seen to present the game. They spent 45 minutes and told me every single thing I need to know about this game, and it's one of the most viewed things out there. So we went from that, seeing the amazing presentation that was the most amazing thing we've ever seen in a presentation of a single game before, to now we're worried because there's not a billboard or a bus sign or something that the game is doomed.
No, it's
just a reach, right? It's like a huge stretch of over concern about that aspect. Can they do more marketing? Sure.
Yes, they could.
Maybe not. No.
I think they could do more marketing towards the casual audience. Let's say the TV audience, even more on YouTube's. I'm not seeing much of anything in the way of ads for Starfield on YouTube. I see occasionally I'll see an ad on YouTube for sure, but I remember the marketing for Ragnarok, for God of War Ragnarok. It was crazy. Like every ad I was getting on YouTube was Ragnarok. And because I don't have TV anymore, but I remember seeing Ragnarok ads everywhere, but you don't really get that with this game. So they could market more to the casual audience, but I think at this point in time, they see the amount of hype for the game. They see it in the Steam sales, the pre-orders. They see it on pre-orders with Xbox as well, I'm sure. People are really genuinely hyped for this game. And as a lot of other people have stated to me in the past, marketing now has changed so much to where you get a lot of YouTuber content creators, streamers, stuff that really advertise your game. And I think word of mouth is huge in any industry. Starfield will be no different. And then when people start playing it, they will be talking about it, and they will get newer players to sign up for the game too. They would be like, hey, I'm buying this, or I'm getting Game Pass for this, something, because this game is going to be a massive, massive W for Xbox. I think it's going to be a big, fantastic game for Xbox. I really do. I put it.
Massive.
I'm extreme. I get extreme at times when I'm just playing around with the whole Starfield, thing that I do. But I really believe in Bethesda single player RPGs. Always have, always will. I've loved them forever now, and I don't see it. I don't see myself straying from that. Fallout 76 was never on my radar, even when they announced it, because it was a co-op thing or a online thing. I didn't care for that. I hated that announcement. I did not like that. I wanted another single player experience, but we're getting that now.
Too. I mean, this is the main team that's been working on this game since Fallout 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a lot of the devs, the core team has been with Bethesda for like 20 years or more, together working on these RPGs and stuff. And you had Fallout 76, I think, gets lumped in a lot because Todd's name was attached to it, right? And he really promoted it and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of feels like, well, it's another Todd game or whatever. But it is a different core team for the most part that worked on that game. And for whatever it's worth, Fallout 76 is a great experience now, right? It launched horribly.
It really is.
And it had, there's like no NPCs, or there's all these other issues with it at launch, but now it's a great game. Now, is that an excuse? No, they shouldn't have done that and shouldn't have released it like they did and took years to fix it. But this is like the team that did, Oblivion, right? They did Skyrim, they did Fallout 3, they did Fallout 4. That is who is making this game.
Yep.
And they've been wanting to make a space RPG forever now. This was finally the opportunity to do it. It makes us have to wait longer in Elder Scrolls, right?
Yeah.
On Elder Scrolls 6. But that's the sacrifice that they made to be able to make this game. That's been a dream game for them. And I've been excited for this game ever since they mentioned they were making it. And I can't wait, dude. This is we think things are big now with this year in gaming, right? As amazing as it's been, all these great games keep coming out. The granddaddy of them all for me and for many people is going to be Starfield.
And I know Colt shares the same sentiment, because Colt and I bonded early on over talking about Red Dead Redemption franchise and Fallout. Fallout was another one we bonded over, because we both love these games. These are our type of games. These big open world, heavy on exploration type games. This is the stuff that makes us just love to be a gamer. And I cannot wait for this game. When I tell you that I'm kind of I'm in a situation where I don't have a lot of time to play games right now, but I've kind of been sitting there, even when I do pick up my controller and start playing a game that is decent right now, all I keep thinking about is Starfield. I keep thinking about the game. It's heavy on my mind. I want to explore space within that game. And yes, there is missed opportunities with the marketing. And part of those missed opportunities are things like, the government mentioned aliens are real and that we've had bodies and stuff. They could have capitalized on that with the marketing. They still
You and I said they should have had a Starfield cinematic trailer built to play in front of Oppenheimer.
That
at the theater.
Too. That would have been beautiful. That would have been gorgeous.
That would have been great.
I don't know why they're not doing that. And Bethesda is mostly handling all their marketing. We've seen that when it comes to Bethesda games, Xbox doesn't do what they normally do. You're seeing what Bethesda normally does, but I don't know why they're not jumping on some type of advertising to the mass media, because you were talking about how there's no demo, but where's the Spider-Man 2 demo?
Oh, gosh, exactly.
There isn't a Spider-Man 2 demo.
There's a one in Miles
because they're
Morales.
not going to Gamescom. It's why aren't they going to Gamescom? Because they don't need to go to Gamescom. Why? Because we've already played Spider-Man 2. And I only say that because it's that usual bad actor suspect, like Mav was talking about, that are out there saying, I'm so worried about a game I'll never play on a platform that I don't play my games on, So, I don't know. But I would say I would love to see way more marketing. I don't want to excuse it at all. I would like to see way more marketing because I think it's fun. I would actually like to be at my in-laws' house watching a baseball game or a football game and see a commercial come on for Starfield. But I don't know if they do that much anymore. I don't think they do. I don't think many.
I have a few coworkers that are gamers. They're casual. They play, Call of Duties and stuff, but they'll play the occasional big game. They didn't even know what Starfield was. I had to explain that to them about a month ago. And they're like, oh, I remember Skyrim. Yeah, I played Skyrim. And I'm like, yeah, it's the same team, it's Bethesda. And they're like, oh, that sounds really intriguing. Space? They hadn't heard nothing about it. So there are people out there like this that they can market
space?
To.
What's that?
Yeah, space. Yeah. What, aliens? No, but I don't know. They could do better. But other than that, folks, it's been a good time today. But I'm going to have to end the show here because I have to get some rest before work. I work tonight. So anyways, I had a great time with you two today. I had a great time with the audience. Guys, hit the like button if you enjoyed the show today. I appreciate it. But Colt Eastwood, I'll start with you. Give everybody your outro. Basically, tell them where they can find you and what you're working on.
Well, I've got my show tomorrow already, so we'll be talking about some of the news. And if you want to give my last video a check out, I basically predicted what I think is happening and some things we're hearing about the consoles going forward and how the future should be. And I just hope it gets better. The games are already really great. I just hope they get better. So thanks for having me on, Fonz, and happy birthday to you.
Yeah, no, appreciate you, man. Mav, where can they find you? What you working on? What you playing and all that?
Yeah, playing Baldurs Gate3 and Diablo 4. But and besides finding me playing those games, you can check me out on Fun Speculation on X. Yeah, it sounds weird to say still, but a Fun Speculation on X. But on YouTube, Fun Speculation, we got 3 shows. We are 7 subs away from hitting 4K. So maybe we'll hit that tomorrow night on our show. We have a show called FSP, Fun Speculation Podcast, at 10 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights after Colt usually kind of wraps up. Then Thursdays, PM and the PM at 7 p.m. Eastern time with my buddy Pong Soul and I. And then Friday nights, Xbox Ultimate Podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern. So thanks for having me, Fonz.
Appreciate you.
It's great hanging out with you and Colt. And I'm glad that finally got to be here where I felt more comfortable. I could be myself a little bit more.
Yeah. And your sound is a whole lot better in that room. And everything is just, it's beautiful. Thank you very much for being here. And I want to thank everybody in the chat for wishing me a happy birthday. I appreciate you guys so much. It's really cool to see. Before I go, I did have one more super chat. It was in regards to Highlander 001 saying that he plays split screen with his daughter. He says his daughter is way too young for Baldurs Gate 3. They play Paw Patrol. So, yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I remember playing games like that with my daughter. It was, I think it was a Barbie game back in the day, but yeah, there was plenty of games like that. And then as my daughter got a little bit older, we were playing like GTA and stuff together. It was a lot of fun. Remember Mafia 3? I had some great memories with my oldest daughter in Mafia 3, trying to fill up a phone booth with bodies. Oh yeah. We had a good time. Great. No, but anyways, folks, I'm rambling on here. Thank you very much for being here. And thank everybody. I thank everybody out there who's listening on streaming platforms. Appreciate you guys. Until next time, game on.